Hi there, my name is Justin Root with Better Day, makers of Coffee Plus. We've enhanced organic coffee with vitamin minerals, probiotics, functional enzymes. The result is a faster way to start your day and to keep your fast going. Check it out. Today I want to tell you a little bit about me and share some of the books that I found super helpful. If you like to nerd out like I do, these are some books that you might want to geek out to about food, nutrition, sustainability, and just general wellness. So quick background, I graduated from college, actually journalism school at the University of Florida. I moved to New Orleans and landed a dream job. I was tasked with taking journalists to the best bars and restaurants in New Orleans, pretty much around the clock, actually going all over the state of Louisiana. It was an incredible job. I loved it, poured my heart and soul into it. The cost of it was I eventually ate and drank my way up to 260 pounds, which I didn't like, but I didn't realize how big of a problem that was until I went for a physical, found out I had hypertension. The doctor said you can take this pill the rest of your life, or you can try to lose weight. Turns out losing weight is not as easy as it seems. I poured myself into the research. I like to nerd out. I hope you do too. And there was a lot of confusion, a lot of conflicting stuff. Enrolled in some courses about nutrition. Those led to courses about agriculture, led to more courses about nutrition. But here are the books that I've come across that I think have found most helpful. You got your classics, Start, China Study. This is a big, dense one, but it's like the foundation of the whole plant-based diet and all the science and reasons for why you'd want to be plant-based. And then you also got the Blue Zones, which looked at communities around the globe that have centurions, people living the longest, living the healthiest, and tried to find similarities in their diet, their culture, their lifestyle. One of those is eating more plants. They weren't all exclusively vegan, but the majority of their calories were coming from plants. They also, I found this to be good news, found drinking wine socially in moderation is a healthy part of your lifestyle. Staying active, legumes were another thing that they found common across all these different cultures. Those are the big classics that everyone kind of is aware of. Some of the ones that don't get enough love, I don't think. In Defense of Food. I really love this one. I'm a Michael Pollan fan. He writes about food and nature and cooking. He's just incredibly well researched and has awesome prose in his writing. This book is an example of how thoroughly he researches things. He spent years going through nutrition studies, trying to find where all the agreement was. What's the consensus on the best way to eat? Because there's always different trends, always different things to eat. Don't eat fat, do eat fat, don't eat protein, do eat protein, don't eat sugar, don't eat sugar. You know, it gets crazy. So what are the truths in all of the study? And it came down to three things. One, eat whole foods, foods from the earth, foods our grandparents would recognize and eat. Two, eat less. We're consuming too many calories, we're making too many calories. And three, eat mostly plants. Again, his science didn't support eating all plants, but it did suggest that the more plants you eat, the more fiber you have, the more antioxidants in your diet, the better diversity of those plants. All those things are going to help benefit your health, improve your health. So this is an awesome book. I highly recommend it. Another one, if you want to nerd out to more of the science that I thought was helpful, the Obesity Code. This doctor's a really big, I think he's kind of in the keto space, huge in the intermittent fasting space, but this kind of looks at the role of insulin and how our glycemic index and the kind of the hormonal response behind our food, how it plays in a role in how our food's metabolized and what our size is, and different ways that we can probably think about what we eat and when we eat to take advantage of the way our body digests food. So that's kind of more of a sciencey breakdown of things. Staying on the food train, but not necessarily on the nutrition side, just eating smarter and understanding our food better. Another Michael Pollan book, Botany of Desire. This is a super cool book, another one I really geeked out to. But this looks at the relationship between humans and plants from the perspective of the plant, and it's told through 4 plants. You look at the apple, the tulip, marijuana, and I believe the potato is the 4th one. All of these plants have key attributes that have seduced and charmed humans into doing a lot of their work and their biology prospering. So it breaks down the history and our relationship with those and kind of gives you a different perspective on plants and really appreciate our relationship there with the plants that we're eating. Another one, I'm a huge fan of fungi. That's why we got cordyceps and chaga and coffee plus. Healing mushrooms, I've read a bunch of mushrooms book, but I thought this one's like just a great summary. It's a great introduction. I reference it quite a bit, but it offers a breakdown of a lot of the functional medicines that have been used in traditional and folk medicine for a really long time, and just kind of talks a little bit about the science of them, but it's not an overwhelming way. It's a very approachable, digestible way of understanding different mushrooms and understand their different benefits. And again, it's great, quick reference. There's also recipes in there for how you can cook and eat mushrooms. Another one that I mentioned before is The Art of Fermentation. This is a dense book, but it covers everything you'd ever want to know about fermented foods, about probiotics, about the history of our relationship with fermentation and the role it's played in our development and creation. It's a really cool book, dense, thick one. And also, again, Blue Zones. You gotta be drinking our wine, baby. This is one I've just started, about halfway through it. Natural Wine for the People. This has been a pretty good read. It's nice to have context for how fermentation works from this book when you're reading this book. And the other thing about this book is it's really alarming how much we allow to go into our wine. I had no idea. There's over 70 different additives that they can use legally in the United States to manipulate and change the flavor of our wine. It's not just a fermented grape juice that we're buying at the grocery store. There's a lot of weird, funky stuff they're doing. So understanding what to look for when you want to drink natural wines, this is a great guide so far. Speaking of wine, a big part of wine is agriculture and how those grapes are grown. The more I learned about food, the more questions I've had about how it's grown and what the difference is between organic and non-organic. And that led to a big unraveling of a snowball. I went down a rabbit hole, discovering permaculture, biodynamics, all sorts of sustainable agriculture, carbon farming. The two catalysts for those movements, you have the Agricultural Testament. This is a big one for the organic movement. And then you have the One Straw Revolution. This was like kicked off permaculture design. Basically what these styles of agriculture are doing is they're trying to go beyond organic. So conventional farming, the cheap stuff at the grocery store, that stuff's all about as much yield per square acre as possible. And it's become almost a chemistry set. After World War II, we had a ton of nitrogen left over from making bombs. Farmers were like, nitrogen's great for growing things. Let's throw it in the soil. Things will grow like crazy. They did, but it threw off the entire ecosystem of the soil. Soil's totally misunderstood. We really need to be making a better effort to save our soil. It'll solve so many issues that we have, from atmospheric carbon to water to our food quality. We need to save our soil, because by adding nitrogen to the soil, these conventional practices, we've killed the soil. And so now we got to throw in all sorts of additives to create an environment that some plants can grow out of. Organic, it's like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, we need to be careful about what we're adding. Let's not put glyphosate, which is now known carcinogen, around our food. That doesn't seem like a good idea. Let's exercise some restraint here. Permaculture, sustainable agriculture, regenerative agriculture, these practices are now going beyond organic, and they're saying, how can we give back to the local ecosystem? How can we biomimic our environment, take what nature already does, and put it in a way that it's going to foster a lot of yield, grow plenty of products. We'll also be able to give back to the ecosystem around us. We'll be able to save the health of our soil, and by doing that, we'll be able to save a lot of our problems, and we'll develop a sustainable, enriching food supply. So One Straw Revolution digs into kind of that mimicking nature aspect of things. This would be where I would tell everyone to start. This is Third Plate by Dan Barber, another one that I really enjoyed. He's a chef, an incredible chef. Still haven't had the fortune of eating at his restaurants. But he starts to think about the future of food and the role of sustainability in food. And always, as a chef, curious about where his ingredients come from, and took the time to really understand and research agricultural practices. Ended up setting up a farm at one of his restaurants to experiment with these different agricultural practices and try and resurrect different species and genus of different foods. This does a great job summarizing the role of regenerative agriculture in our food supply and the benefits of doing it, and what the future of food will look like, which you'll find, spoiler alert, has a lot more plants than animals in it. He doesn't give up on animals, but he does emphasize the importance of crowding out the plate with plants instead of a lot of different animal products. So those are all the books that I've come to love and have been really helpful for me. So if you're interested in this, if you haven't experienced any of these books, I strongly encourage you to check it out. If you have any questions about any of these books or any of these topics, hit me up. I'd love to help you. I'm here to help. If you're wondering how you can get all the great things that are discussed in these books in part of your daily routine, I would say, I don't know, check out Coffee Plus. It's a great way to start your day. We've got functional mushrooms in here. We've got the probiotics in here. We got organic coffee in here. It's just a great way to start your day and to keep your day going fast. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Any questions about food, wellness, nutrition, sustainability, hit me up. I'd be happy to help. Have a good one.